Ever wondered what happens when you let humans loose in the galaxy? From Hold My Beer to accidentally killing gods, this Galactic Confederacy guide reveals why you should always run when a human says oops. Thinking of befriending a human? Think again. Discover why their crazy experiments, bizarre pets, and that ominous red button make the Galactic Confederacy both terrified and thankful for humanity's unpredictable brilliance. Just a quick reminder before we get started. Only 4% of my viewers have subscribed to the channel so far. If you enjoy the content, I'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to hit that subscribe button and support the channel. Thank you so much. Now we start the story.
There was once a small amount of text here. It's not small now. This used to be the Galactic Confederacy's phraseology and terminology document, but it has been extensively revised, as we apparently missed. Quite a few of them. And more importantly, the dire warnings that follow them. So, we're going to try again. Consider this your first of many warnings. Welcome to the Galactic Confederacy. Before you begin your official duties or receive any assistance. As needed, a short orientation period is necessary. However, in case of an emergency such as war, disaster, or other such circumstances, you will receive aid immediately. Regardless of circumstances, this document serves as a guide to the galaxy's most eccentric member, humans. Humanity were the creators of the Confederacy. Initially, they decided to try to form a federation of states of sorts, but differences in galactic politics and resource logistics meant that system was not a viable option. So, they created the Confederacy instead. We all operate under our own system of governance, with agreements for free trade and security for merchant fleets from pirates, registration systems to prevent fraudsters, and as you probably know by now, a universal criminal registry to protect the galaxy against ne'er-do-wells. But one thing about humans, they're very eccentric, strange, unpredictable. Some might even say insane. Be that as it may, they have become an indispensable, immutable, unimaginably needed resource, and most would say friend within the galactic community. Also, for the more warmongering members of the galactic community, a fair warning. Humans have this thing where they have no sense of scale, no chill, and the engineering prowess to make this silliness a reality. They have bigger ships than you, more heavily armed ships than you, more ships than you in total, and they will splatter your face across the 16 vectors if you give them the reason to. So please don't, in any case. When it comes to humans, they have these phrases, words, and humanisms that mean certain things in certain situations. Things which, when said, mean certain things. This glossary will tell you what to do in the event of such things being said. Without further ado, here they are. Number 1. Hold my beer. Ultimately, one of the most infamous phrases in human history, this phrase is often used when a human wishes to do something crazy or one-up another individual. This phrase is a human's way of stating the fact he or she can and will do better than the thing they just saw. This is generally considered a good thing, owing to varying circumstances. In the right circumstances, this can mean two engineers engaging in an interesting sparring match in which they are trying to beat each other in a build-off. This usually means the galaxy has another glorious innovation of technology or a really big, censored off-gun to use against the Confederacy's enemies. Or it could be used as a reason for you to drop everything and run. This is not an invitation for you to actually hold the human's beer. Ask the counselor from Hamaris 4 who did that once. He regretted it. This is not an order for you to take the human's beer from him, the great Marankus. The 5th from the Serranis sector still has nightmares about that day. This is not an invitation for you to take the human's beer and drink it, even in jest. You cannot ask the last guy who did that, as he can no longer speak. Number 2. Hey, what could happen? This is a term used by engineers, mechanics, and gunnery personnel, said by them shortly before they do something that makes a star implode, makes a star explode, makes a planet explode, makes a planet implode, turns a gas giant into a star. Wipes out an entire enemy starfleet, wipes out a friendly starfleet, usually by accident, and many others. This is essentially a human's way of saying, I have no idea what this does, but let's see what it does anyway. And this phrase is usually used just before testing an experimental device and/or weapon, just before something explodes or implodes. or explodes then implodes, or defies the laws of the universe and turns into cheese. Please don't ask us about that last one. This phrase is effectively a human looking at an object or device and doing it anyway because it might be cool. When a human says this, you A. run the absolute hell away as fast as you can ambulate. B. Die horribly. Grab the human and restrain him/her as soon as possible and stop them from activating the device. For reference's sake, this phrase also shares similar connotations with what could possibly go wrong. The answer to that question is everything. Respond to it in a similar fashion as directed above. Number 3. Don't worry about it. This is one of the most terrifying phrases a human can say. This usually happens when something bad is about to happen, is happening, or has happened. This phrase is uttered during, before, or after a disastrous event. This phrase was originally used by humans to lie to alien crew members in an attempt to calm or placate them in case of emergency. Then, that human did something suicidally insane to stop the problem from being problematic, usually to their detriment and/or death. When a human says to you, "Don't worry about it," the first and only thing you should do is worry about it. When you are finished worrying about it, say your last goodbyes to that human. You are likely not going to see them again. At least not alive anyway. The only good thing about this phrase and its subsequent utterance is that the problem it is in reference to, almost always, within a 98% margin, gets resolved, fixed, or finished. The bad news is, if a human fixes it, that human usually has to have a statue of them built with posthumous award ceremonies. For the sake of reference, the galactic economic crash of '86 was due to us running out of metals to make all the metals. Number 4. That's just my pet humans are a strange species with the uncanny ability to make friends with absolutely anything and everything, from plants to predators to herbivores to deathworms to entire sapient planets. Humans will actively attempt to make friends with everything, even the wastebasket in the office. This effectively means that humans have a habit of making pets, friends, or companions out of some of the most dangerous, vicious, evil, hateful, vile, or predatory species in the galaxy. Examples of this are Lorelei the farmer and her pet Bakandi deathworm Jeff, Simon and his pet Jackie, the giant gemstone golem, Paul and his pet dire jackal Wolfie, Oliver and his best bud, a giant mountain-sized crustacean, Jessica and her pet super chicken Loki, Timothy and his best friend, Orlos, the world man, a sapient planet. Generally speaking, this unimaginably incredible ability to make friends with anything is just as much a curse as it is a blessing. On one hand, these humans can casually wander around with domesticated variants of the single most dangerous beasts in the known universe. On the other hand, they can make friends with anything, which means in a dangerous situation, the best place to be is near the human. Number 5. This is undoubtedly the most dangerous thing a human can say, especially when they're looking at you. But not for the reason you think, but nowhere near as dangerous as the word will, but also not for the reason you think. The reason for this is entirely due to humans and their, breeding habits. Yes. Exactly the opposite reason you think. Human reproduction is one of the most complicated systems ever discovered by sapient life. They have no off switch and will actively attempt, if possible, to bonk anything that tickles their fancy. Unlike most denizens of the galaxy, humans will engage in sexual activity for entertainment, and they have no seasonal fertility cycle. The end. Good news is that humans themselves are quite delightful. They are perhaps the most appealing species to look at and be around. Natural body warmth, mammalian in nature, omnivorous, with symmetrical features. Sounds nice, doesn't it? There are 3 ways to handle the situation of a human looking at you and saying, would. Option A, reciprocate, and use the phrase, I would too. This depends on if you like the human in question. Option B, as fast as you can ambulate, do so. Rapidly in any direction the human isn't. In short, run the hell away. Option C, politely decline and walk away. This is generally the best option. Please be aware, humans consider forcible or unwanted sexual contact as one of the most vile and egregious criminal offenses one can imagine. at least to humans. Humans will commit themselves to your destruction in every way possible if you do this, with gusto. So please don't seriously. Number 6. Seemed like a good idea at the time. This phrase is usually uttered during the aftermath of an experiment gone wrong, a failure of engineering, or when a human builds an enormous weapon and it fails spectacularly. Or performs so. Well, it accidentally kills a god, and that last part did in fact happen. They did in fact accidentally kill a god. They promised they wouldn't kill a god again. We do not yet know if this promise has been kept. Number 7. That's interesting. This phrase is used by a human who has, unsurprisingly, discovered something interesting, unusual, or fascinating. This happens after the discovery of a new species, a new planet, an odd-shaped asteroid, or other such occurrence. Unfortunately, it means that this human is going to be fascinated by whatever it is. They just found for several hours to several days in duration. The human will be fixated on the task of being fascinated with this object or entity to such an extent their usual duties will be forgotten or abandoned or simply not done in favor of this objective. Fortunately, this fascination, especially with certain humans such as scientists or mechanics, who will end up, usually, providing some kind of benefit that makes up for their lack of work. This can mean massively upgraded reactor capacity, a new scientific discovery, an upgrade for gunnery targeting strength, among many, many other things. Generally speaking, you must modify your duty roster. The job still needs to be done. Secure the human's work area to make sure they don't accidentally cook with explosives. Make sure the human has the necessary tools or implements to complete the task. They will use anything they can get their hands on, including stuff usually not meant for use as tools. Number 8. This'll just take a SECA phrase that essentially means a task will take either a few minutes to a few days to complete. Again, one of those things that humans do to placate the people around them and calm everyone's fears down. The duration of this task can be, as stated, a few seconds or up to a few days, depending on everything. The human will often repeat this phrase during the task if you ever ask him how it's going, and regardless of duration will usually follow up by stating, "See, I told you it would only take a sec," even if the task took several weeks. Number 9. Because reasons, or I was bored. This is a phrase used by a human, usually after they complete a particularly dangerous, silly, or stupid task, such as using a detached door from a crashed landing pod to snowboard down a mountain, using explosives for fun, pressing random buttons on a gunnery console, using munitions as dominoes in private quarters, creating a huge obstacle course using toothpicks, using matches to make a volcano, modifying the coffee machine to accept 27 cups at once. The only way to prevent these situations is to prevent boredom in humans. Give him an electronic device with games, reading material, video recordings, or access to Galnet and Galaxy Tube in order to keep them occupied. A bored engineer is the most dangerous human you will ever meet. Number 10. This is going to hurt a phrase used before a serious incident, when the human's capacity for momentary foresight and pattern recognition suddenly understands there's about to be a problem. Or when a human is about to do something stupid, like jump off a roof, chase a tornado, get in front of an avalanche, or do something dangerous. It depends on the situation, of course, but it can either mean the human who spoke it just warned you to take cover or retreat to safety, or as a cue for you to retrieve a first aid kit. Upon hearing this phrase, first consider the context. Then, do the following. Option A. If it's a stunt, a dangerous trick, or some other leisure activity, shrug your shoulders, or analog thereof, and retrieve a first aid kit. The human will need it. Option B. If it's a dangerous situation like an industrial accident, or some kind of explosive danger, run. Option C. If the human is annoyed with you for some reason, the hurt will be yours. Try to placate them, or run away very fast. If this doesn't work, know that it will hurt, but you will at least survive. Probably. Number 11. For science. This phrase is used by a human engaging in experimentation, especially humans that are somewhat eccentric or abnormal in mentality. They will start an experiment or test and go, for science, before diving into whatever it is they are doing. This phrase is usually followed by one of the following statements. Oops, if the experiment went wrong and something exploded. Well, that happened. If the experiment had unexpected positive or negative results. Oh shit. If the experiment went badly wrong. Oh fuck. If the experiment went horribly wrong, there's a void-ish feeling where my spleen was. That's bad, right? You don't want to know. Can anybody else taste purple? You really don't want to know. So basically, this phrase is generally deployed when a human is about to try to do something just to see what happens. And it usually ends badly for them. The humans justify this behavior by saying, well, now we know what not to do. In the belief we already didn't know what mixing censored with censored and censored does. Number 12, all that is certain in life is death and taxes. You don't really need to react when a human says this. We're just putting this here because, well, it's true, isn't it? Number 13, silence. Silence is scary when it comes to humans. It means one of three things. A, they are dead and you need to contact authorities immediately. B, they are asleep and you must not disturb them at all unless you present the ritual sacrifice of a cup of coffee. C, they are concentrating on a specific task. Some humans will actively talk to themselves while working to help them concentrate. Do not disturb them unless they are fiddling with nuclear material. There are, however, exceptions to this rule. This especially applies to human children. Silence usually means the child is up to something that isn't good and needs to be found and stopped immediately. A quiet human child either means they are taking a nap or they are engaging in activity, which will likely mean all of the sugar will be spread all over the kitchen floor, or the toilets will be blocked, or windows will be broken, or explosives will turn up missing, etc. Number 14, hear me out. This phrase is often used by humans for the purposes of laying out their opinion on certain activities and political or religious standpoints. The sane ones do that anyway. The phrase, hear me out, when spoken by anyone other than the sane ones, usually precedes a human doing one of the following activities: using a cannon in an attempt to deep fry poultry, using large quantities of gasoline in an attempt to light a campfire, using a railgun launch mechanism to deliver mail, using a starship's main Gauss laser to carve out a smiley face on the surface of a moon, using explosives to heat up army ration packs, or other things of that nature. So, be careful and consider present company when hearing this phrase. It could either be a reason for you to demand a cup of coffee as payment for a debate, or a reason for you to pray to the gods. Number 15, oops. This can mean several different things depending on tone of voice. Gleeful. The human is likely watching something akin to a funny clip show on the extranet, relating to someone failing to perform a stunt or getting decked after acting stupid. Quiet. Something very bad just happened and you are all about to die in a spectacular fashion that will end up in Gal News with annual specials and documentaries until the heat death of the universe. Hyperventilating, something even worse just happened, but the human is actively using up oxygen to work as fast as possible to fix the issue. Oops is the universal phrase that means something has gone wrong or is about to go wrong. Number 16, don't push. The red button human ships have this strange tradition of having a rather large, very obvious big red button somewhere on the ship. We have never understood why or how or even when this tradition started, but every single ship has somewhere in it a big, fat, glowing red button. Do not press this button unless explicitly directed to do so by a human. This button has been pressed accidentally or out of curiosity before. Bad things happened, such as enabling the nuclear warheads present on every human ship, activating an automated security protocol that exterminates all non-registered crew members, activating the self-destruct sequence, activating the blow-up-a-sign random star cannon, enabling the shield system that prevents anyone from leaving the ship, ever, enabling the time drive system that jumps the ship to the 1970s, for some reason. Again, this button does a whole massive host of things. It varies ship to ship, crew to crew, sometimes even engineer to engineer. There can be multiple buttons on a ship, or just one very big button. We have no idea how or why these functions would even exist, let alone be installed inside a starship, but they are, and that big red button controls those mechanisms. Please don't ask why. Not even they know. Number 17. Yet. This is a word you need to be afraid of. This is a word that is usually the word that follows some kind of impossible task or strange occurrence. You say, for example, time travel is not possible. The human will respond with yet, and before you know it, you will be trapped in Earth ancient eras being hunted by a giant murder lizard, or ascended to the next plane of existence involuntarily, or you become a god, or become a demon, or get teleported to a place called Muffin Land, or have your entire planet turned into a giant cheese fondue? Yes, this happened. When a human says yet, run the feck away and pretend not to exist. Number 18. I wonder if it tastes like chicken. This phrase is usually uttered when a human encounters unusual alien food or some kind of foodstuff or edible while exploring a planet. This is normal. Human brains function abnormally compared to the rest of the galaxy, and often will understand something by experiencing it first. This usually ends badly, but not the way you think. After numerous medical advances, humans can survive almost anything they ingest, save lethal chemicals like cyanide or expended nuclear fuel. Of course, they are intelligent enough to know not to do that, but it won't stop them from grabbing and munching on a random mushroom or berry off a bush. Humans usually carry a syringe around with them that allows them to get away with this. Wonder if it tastes like chicken is basically a human's way of saying, "Can I eat this?" and then attempting to compare the flavor, if any, to a certain poultry that exists on their homeworld, Earth. If a human says this, be prepared for copious quantities of vomiting, diarrhea, or gastrointestinal stress responses shortly before the human jabs themselves with the aforementioned syringe. We still don't know why. But when a human likes what they are eating, it's a sign you've either stumbled on a new favorite foodstuff or something that will make the human happy, but will make you explode. If a human ever offers you this if you are there to witness it, upon them liking it, politely decline and state you are on a diet. This will get them to back off. Humans are omnivorous, in a sense more completely than most other galactic species. They got that way by eating everything they could, and the ones that didn't die were the ones that would go on to breed. Also, the ones nearby the humans that did die would say, I guess that's not edible yet. Maybe we should try pickling, salting, boiling, drying, fermenting, baking, freezing, aging, cooking, immersing in acid, immersing in base, fractional distillation, etc. It is rumored that there still exist a few species on Earth that humans cannot yet eat. They are generally brightly colored, and humans use them as recreational drugs. Number 19. It could have been worse. This phrase works in a similar manner to other phrases, but this one usually arrives after any major catastrophe, disaster, and/or explosive diarrhea incident. The human who said it will usually be to blame for said incident, such as experiment gone wrong, C-section labeled for science, button was pressed that shouldn't have been pressed, C-section labeled don't press the big red button, a star being accidentally turned into a pulsar, crash landing on an alien planet, time traveling to the 1970s. Again, we really don't know why it's the 70s. Bad Taco Bell. See Galactic Historical Archive, year 883 CBA for the Great Toilet Strike of 83 for information. The human will always respond with, could have been worse, as if to try to placate his audience. This human must be punched or disciplined in whatever way you see fit. Number 20, Leroy Jenkins. This phrase comes from the ancient days of human internet and video game culture. This phrase is usually said just before a human is about to perform an incredible heroic sacrifice, a glorious daring do, a magnificent stunt, or is about to walk into a Balthagrok nest armed only with his boxers. And shockingly, that guy not only survived but ended up with a trade deal. No, we aren't kidding. Number 21, nope. Nope is the universal word meaning I don't like what I just saw. It is a human way of responding to dangerous objects, dangerous wildlife, or arachnids, for some reason. When a human says nope and walks away, you need to follow them. Although humans are more physically resilient than most galactic species, if they are not willing to engage in a fight, you shouldn't be either. If the human says nope, nope, nope in rapid succession, this would be a good time to pray to your gods and thank them for the short life you were given. It probably won't be any longer, as this human has found something they really don't like. Conversely, there is another phrase that runs along similar lines to nope, and that is the phrase AW hell nah. This one means the human has found something they really hate and are running from it not to escape, but to retrieve the biggest gun stick artillery they can find to vaporize it. It is an absolute necessity to secure this human and make them stop attempting to retrieve a bigger gun. They will likely either find or make this weapon and use it to blow a hole in your ship purely out of spite for the thing they want gone. Number 22, FAFO. This is an acronym which, to put it politely, means feck around and find out, is a clear warning that the human in question is not impressed with your threat display and is likely to respond with equal violence should you continue in whatever you are doing. Remember, the humans don't take kindly to idle threats. Even a simple mating display a human accidentally sees will be construed as a potential threat. They will respond accordingly. When used in a political context in response to aggression, it should be taken as a most dire warning that you have stumbled upon a topic that humans are not willing to back down on and will respond with an unreasonable amount of retaliation. It also implies that they are already prepared for conflict, assets have already been moved into position, and are ready to respond immediately as well as overwhelmingly. It means you have just stumbled into a trap and you need to suddenly become very small and escape into the ventilation system. Take the opportunity given to backtrack to a less aggressive stance. Or be the next example. 23 such examples thus far as to why one does not try one's luck with the humans, especially the engineers. Number 23. Friend-shaped. This phrase is spoken when a human comes across a life form that is universally dangerous, but the human thinks is cute, endearing, or adorable. The human will inquire about the beast in question and utter something along the lines of, if why not friend, why friend shape? This is the human being disappointed he or she cannot make friends with the beast. As previously stated about their propensity for domestication, this won't stop them from trying. You, however, can stop them from trying by simply using the no pets allowed rule on your ship or station. Even if everyone else has pets, the human will call hypocrisy and eventually will give up and go for a pet or companion that fits with the rest of the crew. Or another tactic is that if all pets on board ship or station are of the same breed, you can say, insert pet here, gang, or only real shipmates have this one. This is indeed a cruel practice, but one that will ultimately prevent the human from befriending a Bakandi deathworm and bringing it on board. Yes, this has in fact happened. Numbers 24. Well, fuck. This phrase comes in multiple variations. Fuck this, fuck it, fuck you, fuck me, fuck. And the absolute worst, a very quiet and calm, well, fuck. There is also a different variation that means roughly the same thing, only slightly less. Shit, bullshit, shit. And still terrifyingly quiet and calm. Well, shit. They all mean roughly the same thing. Something very, very bad is about to happen. Or has happened, but the consequences of that action have yet to be fully realized. When a human says these things, run, or waddle, or ambulate, or squirm, or goop, anything, just go. Whatever you were doing before, it no longer matters, just go. If a human says any of these phrases while looking at the coffee machine, though, then the situation has just turned nuclear and you now have a frustrated, angry, caffeine-deprived human in your vicinity. Don't offer them tea in its place. They will do worse than kill you, especially Texans. Although many humans would prefer you not self-terminate, the procedure is as follows. Politely ask the human what is wrong. If they say the coffee machine isn't working, you will immediately summon all available mechanics, technicians, and engineers to repair the device. Distract the human with a random conversation or order to accomplish a task that requires concentration, such as gunnery calibration. They find it funny for some. Reason: poor. Repair the coffee machine with all haste. If the coffee machine cannot be repaired, two options are available. A. Mass suicide. B. Politely tell the human you will buy a new one at the next port, and he will have to make do with tea. Generally the better option. This phrase is why most alien ships have 4 or 5 boxes of unpacked coffee machines in the cargo bay if they have a human as a crewmate. And that will be all for orientation. There is a lot more, obviously, but outlining the some odd 2,000 phrases used by humans would result in this orientation pamphlet being the size of a large 700-page novel. We will let you get used to how things work on your own. Time. We had to. Now you do too. Welcome to the Galactic Confederacy, and please, gods make it stop. Hey everyone! If you enjoy these epic HFY stories, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and drop a comment below to let us know your favorite part or what stories you'd love to hear next. Your support keeps the channel growing and the stories coming. Thanks for being part of this channel.